All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Carlo Bobilas, and I'll be your moderator. I'm pleased to introduce today's speaker, Solutions Architect Casey Hamilton. But before I hand over the mic, I do have a few housekeeping items to cover about today's session. Um, Basically, today's session will be recorded and made available on demand. Make sure to stay till the end, and we'll make sure to provide those details at the end. Also, we'd love to hear from you during today's session. So if you have a question for Casey, please scan the QR code that's located toward the top right corner of your screen, or it may be in the center. You can also participate through with our polls that we're going to be given and showcasing throughout the session. So we do encourage you to participate in that. And lastly, we have a post-event Q&A thread over on the Cisco Learning Network. That QR code is on the bottom right corner of your screen, I believe. So do go ahead and scan that and make sure to bookmark that link for future follow-up questions and additional information. So first off, let's go ahead and open up our first poll. So let me get that going. And our first poll is, which technology do you currently use? Your choices are Catalyst Center, Meraki, hybrid, or none. We really love your feedback, so we do encourage you to participate. Again, that Slido code, that QR code is located on the top right corner of your screen. You can scan that to participate in the polls and ask further questions. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on, and over to you, Casey.
All right, thank you, Carlo. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar where we're going to cover Catalyst Center versus Meraki. And my name is Casey Hamilton. I work for Cisco. I primarily work with Catalyst Center, and I also work with Meraki as well on various stuff like automation, programmability, security, etc. I'm excited to take you through this journey because Catalyst Center and Meraki, as you may be aware, they interlink very well together. They work very well together, especially with some of the newer features that I'm going to cover today. So today is going to be a very high level session. There's a lot to cover. I want to go over what are the differences between both of these solutions. And I want to cover high level from a demo perspective. How do you navigate to the various areas within Catalyst Center to get value, to get benefit from it? And same goes for Meraki. And we'll kind of compare the two and see how they both kind of, how you can almost achieve the same goal from each dashboard, but each dashboard is different. And I want to cover that with you. So there's a lot to cover from like a demo and navigation perspective. And I'll go ahead and take you through that journey. But understand this will be very high level. We're not going to get into the weeds of many features. We're going to cover this from a high level perspective. We're going to learn about the differences of Catalyst Center and Meraki. We're going to explore core features and network devices that Catalyst Center supports, and then also that Meraki supports. I'm also going to take you on a live demonstration through the dashboards of both solutions. And we're going to end on the new hybrid and UNX approaches, which can help optimize your management. Let's say you want a hybrid approach of both Catalyst. You want to use Catalyst Center and Meraki for different needs, and you want to simplify your licensing. We're going to cover UNX at the very end to get you up to speed on that. All right, so here's just a brief overview of our agenda. Basically just went all over this, so we're going to cover each of these items. And let's start with a brief overview of the differences. Why would you choose one or the other between Catalyst Center and Meraki? Well, Catalyst Center, when it comes to ease of deployment, it requires a little bit more hand-holding, a little bit more expertise. You need to do like base configuration. You need to deploy your own base configuration out. You need to make sure it has layer 3 connectivity over to Catalyst Center. So that Catalyst Center can locate the device. Catalyst Center needs to be able to log into the device. So, and routing needs to be in place. So I would say the ease of deployment is more moderate in that instance. However, for Meraki, it's more simple. Are you wanting more of a simpler solution? The other thing is network environment. Catalyst Center supports physical ESXi and AWS, meaning you'll need to deploy Catalyst Center You'll need to think about what interfaces within Catalyst Center are going to be connected where. What are the IP addresses going to be of Catalyst Center? What versioning do I need for Catalyst Center, etc. Meraki is all in the cloud. This is not a appliance that you install within your infrastructure. Meraki is in the cloud. The network devices within your infrastructure that are compatible for Meraki reach out to that Meraki cloud. So it's more of a cloud-based solution. For infrastructure management, again, Catalyst Center is more self-management. You need to manage that. You need to get it set up. You need to manage that appliance because it's physical. It's on maybe an ESXi host that you run, or it's an AWS cloud. You need to manage those resources. Meraki Cloud is managed services. You do not need to worry about the resources or hosting involved with managing the Meraki solution. That is done through Cisco. Now, for technical capabilities, and by the way, managed services, we're just talking about the resources and supporting of it. Now, when it comes to actually going into the Meraki dashboard and administrating configuration and operations on your network, that is something you will still need to manage. Now, technical capabilities, these are the differences. All right, so Meraki is looking pretty good so far. It's simple, easy to implement. The key benefits and reasons why you would want to use Catalyst Center is it's very much feature rich. Now, I'm not saying Meraki isn't feature rich. Meraki has tons of capabilities, even some that Catalyst Center does not have. And we'll explore those. But when it comes to Catalyst Center, there's very granular customization. It's feature rich, and Meraki is more simplified in this instance. When it comes to IT management, we have dependency on IT. Catalyst Center is going to require you to have staff that can manage, that can deploy the ESXi instance. It has a little bit more knowledge, a team dedicated to supporting Catalyst Center. Meraki is going to require a little bit more lean IT. You still do need IT knowledge in order to support Meraki. However, it isn't going to require as much of as large of a team as Catalyst Center. Now, the difference now, network device onboarding methods, there's 3 total ways to do this within Catalyst Center. And I mentioned like it's very flexible. There's a lot of ways to do things on Catalyst Center. When Catalyst Center, one of the first things you'll do in Catalyst Center and Meraki is get network devices into your inventory. And Catalyst Center has 3 ways to do this. One being through the discovery method, the other one being through plug and play, and the other one being through LAN automation. Okay, we're going to go over these. I'll go over these briefly during our demo. And with Meraki, there's one way to do it. All right, you purchase a device, you claim that device through your order number. The licensing already gets mapped to that device. And then once that device is connected to your network, it gets shipped out over to you. It's ready. It already has its certificates installed. It reaches over to Meraki. And if everything goes correctly, Meraki will then add that device to the network within the organization that you defined. We'll go over that in a second as well. Cost differences, of course, Catalyst Center is going to be higher. You are managing your own physical, your ESXi, AWS. Meraki is going to be lower. One thing to note, Catalyst Center supports SDA and SD-WAN. Meraki just supports SD-WAN. If you aren't familiar with SDA, SDA is software defined access. It has to do with microsegmentation and macro-segmentation and adjusting how your network operates, both from a reachability and a security standpoint within your LAN, within your network. All right, and when I say macro and micro-segmentation, what I mean is virtual networks that segment on top of each other, and then further micro-segmentation within those networks. One thing to note, I know I said SDA is not supported in Meraki, but SGT tags are. So adaptive policy is supported. So this means SGT tags can still be assigned to your clients, right? And you can enforce dynamic access control based off of that. But in the end, it's not full SDA. It's still missing the virtual network part, the macro segmentation part. Okay. Licensing in Catalyst Center as of today is not enforced. Meraki and licensing is enforced. We're going to cover more on licensing here in a bit. We aren't going to go into the weeds on licensing, but we'll cover it at a high level, specifically near the end of this presentation. All right, so first, let's cover the Catalyst Center core features. We have design, policy, provision, and assurance. These are the core features within Catalyst Center. You can see over to my, over right here, here's the Catalyst Center appliance. It may not look like this, especially if you're on AWS or ESXi, but we have our physical and virtual infrastructure. They communicate with Catalyst Center, and here's our management dashboard, right? It's going to allow you to define network settings. Design is going to allow you to create a network hierarchy, to create templates, network profiles, wireless profiles, all this stuff that will be deployed to your devices. Policy is going to deal more so with QoS policies, AI endpoint analytics, and doing traffic shaping, that kind of stuff. Provisioning is going to be more so where you deploy your devices, you out to Catalyst Center, or Catalyst Center discovers your devices, and here's where you can deploy configuration. Here's where you're actually deploying configuration out to those devices, and you can get a little bit of analytics on it. However, the main area to get analytics is through assurance. Once Catalyst Center has the network devices within the inventory and clients are connected, those network devices are going to start sending telemetry over to Catalyst Center through syslog, SNMP, netconf, and netflow in order to get information, provide it to Catalyst Center, which is going to provide meaningful insights and assurance. AI and machine reasoning is also enabled within Catalyst Center, and it can provide tons of different insights for you to optimize your network further. Here's our Catalyst, Cisco Catalyst 9000 switching portfolio. Over to my left-hand side, you'll see the access switching platforms. We have even down to the 2960s XRs, all the way from 9200s, 9300s. These are going to be mostly used for your access layer. We have our 33,000 series and our 4500E series for the access switching layer. Over to my right-hand side, we have the core switching layer. So these are going to be distribution core, anything that's going to require a lot of bandwidth. If we're thinking SDA, these are going to be your border nodes connecting over to your Fusion devices. And these are like 9500s, 9600s, 6500s, etc. That's your core switching. These are this Catalyst Center line. These work most and are the most feature rich for Catalyst Center. Now, for wireless controllers, we have a few different avenues you can do. There's a lot of flexibility with wireless controllers, specifically the 9800s, which is the controller intended for Catalyst Center. Catalyst 9800 embedded WLC on Catalyst 9100 APs. So yes, you can have a controller embedded on the 9100 APs. You can also have one embedded on 9K switch as well. So these are possible, definitely doable. You can look into this further to get a bit more details on it. The other thing is 9800s are supported, and this is for larger campuses. Right here, we're talking like 6,000 APs. You'll notice at the bottom, these, the APs I just mentioned, where and the 9800 supported on switches, those are typically recommended for smaller environments. We're talking about, because they're still managing data, traffic, all that kind of stuff, wired traffic as well. So it needs I guess the resources need to be allocated. It's not able to support as many APs. These are more so for distributed branch and small campuses. We have our 9800s. We can use ESXi, Hyper-V, KVMs. 9800s right here, it's recommended for medium campuses anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 APs. And then finally, we have our 9800 CL, and also make note, Catalyst Center is supported in AWS and Google Cloud, and support up to 6,000 APs there. And we also have our hardware 9800 as well. The Catalyst Center access point portfolio, we have our 9115AX and 17AX here. These have three radios on them, one 5 gigahertz, one 2.4 gigahertz, and a Bluetooth radio as well. So these are ideal for small to medium deployments. mission critical deployments. Big difference here compared to these is it has two 5 gigahertz dual band radios right here. And then lastly, we have our best in class, the 9130AX. What this does, the big key difference is RF async, which segments and separates the ability to monitor wireless traffic, provide analytics on, say, things such as next-gen clean air, and separate that traffic from data traffic. It's able to isolate each of those and manage it separately, which makes it perform a lot better. Okay. And Carlo, I'm going to go ahead and hand over the next poll question to you while I get ready for our demo. I'm going to go over a demo of Catalyst Center in just a second.
Awesome. Sounds good. Let me go ahead and get that poll, make it live. So poll number 2 is live. We ask, what Catalyst Center network device type do you or are you planning to most likely use? Again, your choices are switching, wireless, hybrid, or none. If you haven't signed up on the Slido or on Slido, go ahead and scan that QR code that's on the top right corner of your screen to participate in this poll. Okay. As we get questions or answers in, I'll hand it over back to you, Casey.
Thank you, Carlo. So here is the Catalyst Center landing page. This is where you'll get once you have it installed and you log in. At the landing page, you'll see a bunch of information, detailed insights, assurance summary, how your network device's health is. Right here, you can see it's 75%, wired health, critical issues, and you can quickly click on these. What it'll do is it'll take you to the assurance dashboard, and it'll give you many ways to troubleshoot and quickly figure out what's going on. Here we're getting a network snapshot. What are our network devices? Are there claimed, any unclaimed, any application QoS policies, AI endpoint analytics. It'll give you a little bit of information here. Network profiles, images deployed to the devices, software image updates, any in progress, success, failed, how does licensing look, etc. We have a bunch of information we can get from the home page. The first thing you'll want to do when you sign into Catalyst Center is go to Design, Network Hierarchy. You want to design and build out your network hierarchy here. These are where you'll end up mapping your devices to that Catalyst Center discovers. And they're defined by the area, the building, site, and then floor. Okay. And you can see right here, like it'll map these down. When I click it, we have building 1, building 2. Click it a bit further, and it gives me information about that building. What's the exact address, etc. Once we have this information entered in, we now know where we're going to have our devices deployed. We also need to define within this network hierarchy, what kind of base configuration do we want deployed to these devices once Catalyst Center reaches those devices and onboards them. So things such as servers. What do our AAA servers look like? What does DHCP look like? DNS, image distribution, NTP servers, StealthWatch, has a time zone look, message of the day, etc. So this is where we had defined that. And we can do various other things for wireless. We can set up our SSIDs, our radios, Flex Connect settings, security settings, telemetry. This is going to deal with what's going to happen is it's going to define Catalyst Center's SNMP trap server. This is going to push telemetry information over to those devices when they get discovered. And what that's going to do is enable those devices to send data over to Catalyst Center for assurance, both from a client and a network device perspective. All right. And the next thing is device credentials. This is important because when you're doing a discovery, Catalyst Center needs to know how to log in to these devices. All right. So we have the CLI, SNMP, HTTPS, SNMP version 3, and we can define these. These need to be pre-configured on the device if you're using discovery. And what it'll do is Catalyst Center will use these credentials once you initiate the discovery. They'll use these credentials, log into those devices, and then onboard it with a bunch of different configuration that's going to enable it to communicate with Catalyst Center and start sending telemetry, allow you to manage it. All right, so that leads me to the first method of getting a device into Catalyst Center. To do that, we'll click Tools, Discovery, and here's where you'll schedule your discovery. You'll click Add Discovery. Basically, what you're wanting to do is, again, you need layer 3 connectivity, and you need to define how this device will, how Catalyst Center will connect to that device. How will it authenticate against it? So you'll do that when you click Add Discovery. I'm just going to show you what a completed discovery looks like, where we had 3 successful. Here we discovered 6 devices. It discovered their IP address. It did an ICMP ping. Note, if discovery is failing, you can troubleshoot this and dive in a bit deeper. Also note, for 9800s, netconf is required when you're discovering those devices. If any issues, you don't have to redefine a new discovery. You can click rediscover right here once you may have figured out the issue. Most likely, it's a layer 3 issue or a credential issue with discovery. But once you have a successful discovery, we'll go to provision inventory, and these devices should show up here. When they show up here, what will happen is we want to make sure that 1, they are reachable, layer 3 connectivity. 2, they are managed. You can see here, this device is not reachable and not managed. So it may be worth looking into troubleshooting a bit further. Could be something wrong with the wireless controller. Maybe it's not associated with it, something like that. And we can use assurance to obtain data on this issue and figure it out even more. Okay, so here's all the devices. We can do a lot from this table. Specifically, the first thing you're probably going to want to do is to assign it to a site that you created from earlier. What this is going to do is configure the network server settings and telemetry settings that we did earlier. We'll go to provision device, and then it'll go ahead and assign that device to a site. At that point, that device will now be able to show up in assurance. I'll go over assurance in just a second, but just know it's telemetry. It's for optimizing your network and ensuring that your business intent and the configuration you deploy, we want to make sure that that configuration matches your intent. So we want to make sure that the operation, the way that we do that, we check that the operation of our network is working correctly. And see, it'll also figure out ways that we can improve that operation. Okay, so before we go over to assurance, the next thing is I want to show you is LAN automation. I also want to show you network plug and play. Okay. So for LAN automation right here, LAN automation is, you'll go to provision network devices LAN automation. This will do. This is ideal if you're doing a greenfield deployment for software-defined access, right? It is very much intended for software-defined access. It uses the routing protocol ISIS to create layer 3 point-to-point networks across your underlay. I'm not going to go into the weeds what SDA is. However, do note there's an underlay and an overlay when you're working with SDA. Layer 3 connectivity point-to-points are required between all intermediate devices for this. LAN automation does the job there. Traditional networks do not use layer 3 point-to-point connectivity. They use an SVI in order to reach their intended routing table, etc. Now, LAN automation is quite different, and it's geared for SDA and specifically for greenfield SDA. Now, the other thing is plug and play. And we're going to go over to Meraki in just a second, but I would say this is probably the closest thing to how Meraki does it. But this is way more of a manual approach. You have to make sure everything is set up correctly. The way PMP works is it'll utilize option 43 with DHCP. This is getting probably a little bit too much in depth into this already, but we have content available to where you can look at this as well. But what it's going to do is it'll use option 43, if you're familiar with that, from a DHCP server address. And there's multiple other methods as well, DNS. It'll reach out to Catalyst Center and discover it through that. If you're not familiar with option 43, I recommend you look it up and look up how that relates to Catalyst Center and plug and play. Again, it's kind of out of the scope for this, but essentially what will happen is that device will be able to find Catalyst Center through DHCP, right, through option 43. And then it'll just show up here. All you have to do is click claim. You'll select a device, click claim, and then it will take you through the workflow. To claim that device, you can even deploy a software update to that device to get it to its golden image. You can deploy the configuration template that you have for that device over to it and get it assigned to a site. Okay, so that's plug and play. Next thing is those are the 3 ways of discovering a device and getting it into Catalyst Center. Do you have these devices provisioned? And again, when you PnP a device, it's going to provision that device automatically for you. It's going to assign it to a site, and that device will be ready to go within assurance. So we have our assurance dashboard. Here we can get a wealth of information. We have our overall network device health by device type. We can see our access switches. There's one device with no data. We may want to look into that. Access points aren't doing too well either. We can look into that by just clicking there. It'll bring us into the 360 mode. We have our network services, AAA, DNS, DHCP. No data is showing right there. We can get some site analytics. We can see the top issues within our network environment. So switch is unreachable. It's a P1. It'll flag it by P1. And yes, you can change the severity levels as well. So we have our network clients, network settings. This is going to show how AAA, DHCP, and DNS are operating on the network. You can deploy, again, NetFlow and CBAR to get view on how applications are performing in your network. You can also create policy and QoS traffic shaping to shape how traffic traverses your network. We have SD access through assurance. And then we have AI endpoint analytics. This is going to provide very in-depth detail into the operations of your network, give you insights on how you can improve your network. I'm just going to give you a brief glimpse on the priority of this one. So we can see P1, Edge 1 is unreachable from Catalyst Center. This does not mean that Edge 1 is offline. User data, client data may still, and if an edge switch or any network device loses connectivity to Catalyst Center, does it become inoperational for endpoints connected to that switch? For users connected to that switch? No, it does not. It will still be able to operate. If it loses connectivity to Catalyst Center, those end users will still have access to the data plane. The only thing that's being impacted here is the management plane from Catalyst Center. Here we can see that it has some suggested actions that you can do to try and troubleshoot this issue and figure out what's going on with that network device. Okay, so the next thing that we have is, I'm going to go to provision. Just want to show you a little bit of the SD Access dashboard. Here we have fabrics. I'm not going to go too big into the weeds here, but just do note, again, this is a Meraki versus Catalyst Center webinar. When it comes to virtual networks, just note, Meraki does not support virtual networks. Therefore, it doesn't support SDA. It supports adaptive policy. It supports microsegmentation. Here is Catalyst. It's a center and it supports virtual networks, supports segmenting networks based off of an IP domain rather than a virtual local area network. Okay. Here we have our fabric sites. We do have a lot of content available out there online to learn more about SD access. It is more of a in-depth topic. So if you're curious, definitely check all of that out. We also have, so we did an SD access series here recently, a few months ago, 3 months ago, and be sure to check those out if you're interested. They are on YouTube as well as a webinar. Okay, and from here, we have a few other things. So that's pretty much covers our bases when it comes to Catalyst Center. But there's tons of features. There's 13 different integrations you can do with Catalyst Center. We have tools. You can define configuration, integrate wide area bonjour. You can look at network bug identifier. It'll identify bugs within your network and give you remediation actions for those bugs and tell you where a fix is. Security advisories will scan network devices and detect vulnerabilities on those devices and give you the recommended fix for those. License manager. We have platform. Platform is going to deal mostly with APIs. So if you're looking to automate programmability of Catalyst Center with different systems, you'll be sure to check this out. You can create code that can, and you can create your own various tools that can be used with Catalyst Center in conjunction with other tools on your network. And then activities is just going to be for checking audit logs, tasks, reports. These are going to be reports that will give you information about how Catalyst Center is operating, what's the state of your network, all the way down to return on investment. You can schedule these reports to be sent out to you weekly, monthly, in CSV, in PDF format, etc. So be sure to check that out. And then lastly, we have our system. That's where because you are managing the system, and Meraki, you are not managing the system. It is cloud-based here. You're managing the system. So here you'll define those settings there and see how the appliance is operating. All right, so with that, that is the end of the Catalyst Center demo. Let's switch back over to the deck, and I am going to cover the Meraki side of things. So what are Meraki core features, and how does the landscape look for Meraki? It's a single pane of glass management. I mentioned it is the cloud, and there's a bunch of different device families here. More so than Catalyst Center. Catalyst Center has controllers, switches, APs, routers that it manages, right? Now here, you can see quite a bit more here. We have our MR, and these are defined with like MX. It's always going to be like M at the very beginning. It stands for Meraki. So Meraki radio, wireless. MX stands for means security appliances. Security appliances are also your core. We're going to cover these first. You can think of these from a Catalyst Center perspective as your border nodes or your core switches within Catalyst Center. Then we have our MS. These are going to be our access switches. So SM, endpoint manager, systems manager, this is going to deal with endpoints, managing certificates on those endpoints, be it mobile, be it a laptop, computer, managing certificates and managing and understanding the behavior of those endpoints. Anything with like, this includes like advanced malware protection, making sure that the endpoints aren't a threat to your network, and defining a trust score of those. This is going to be SMEM. This is not a device. This is a feature within the cloud itself. Another thing is MV, which are smart cameras. These will give you a view of, you can deploy these onto your network and get a lot of data. They are very technically savvy, and you can view footage straight from the Meraki dashboard and live. And then we have MI, which is Meraki Insight. This is going to do is it's going to give you information and insight on the applications within your network. It is also going to give you information and insight on how the WAN link is working. All right, so you can understand what is going on between the service provider and your actual MX security appliance. All right. Next, we have our MG cellular gateway. What this is going to do is it's going to handle redundancy. So when, let's say we have an MX security appliance that loses connectivity to the network, like it's down. And best practice is to have another MX security appliance as well. So we have two that we can run. Let's say both of those go down. You might want to have an MG cellular gateway. All right, so internet is down. We've lost connectivity to both of our ISPs. Most likely if you're running two ISPs, or it could be just one. But best practice would be two. And then MG, our cellular gateway, picks in as a backup. This is not as robust of a solution. It's meant to keep your business running, to keep it online. It's not meant to be used as a single source at your core, but to be used as a backup. And then we have our MT sensors. These are going to be sensors that can provide insight and analytics into your environment within your network. So like we're talking cabins, closets, temperature, humidity, etc. This will take data. So you'll put these within your network closets, and then or your data racks, your data centers, and it'll report data over to the cloud so that you can understand the health of the environment that your network is currently in physically. Okay. Now the power of the stack, what do we have within the Meraki cloud? We have scalability, the ability to grow networks very rapidly, all right? I mentioned earlier, when you order Meraki devices, it is very much plug and play. You're able to connect these devices over to your network, power them on, and as long as you claim them, you have them claimed within Meraki, it's going and defined to what network they're going to get into. It goes very smooth. Let's have management, so you can manage and monitor these networks with robust analytics. And then licensing is very intuitive. It's very easy. We'll cover that in just a moment as well. All right, so the Cisco Meraki devices and cloud. So this is how it works. First, you'll deploy the device to your remote branches. Devices automatically connect by SSL to the Meraki cloud. You can see the Meraki device over here. This is step one. It'll connect through the management traffic over to the dashboard. The dashboard will then configure the Meraki cloud will then configure these Meraki devices based off what you define. All right, and then user and data traffic are completely separate, similar to Catalyst Center. If Meraki devices lose management traffic to the cloud, does not mean that they have that user data is impacted. And then we have our centralized dashboard. Again, here's where we define our configuration and see that our network configuration is matching our intent, making sure through the similar items in Catalyst Center such as assurance. And then we have MX security. Let's go over our network devices. The first one is MX security. There are 3 licenses for MX security. I mentioned SD-WAN is supported on these, so you can get insight into how your WAN is operating. And there's 3 different licenses for our core. For MX security, which is going to operate at the core layer of our network. Again, these are like border nodes. They're more robust. They can handle a lot of traffic. They are at the neck of the bottle. All right, so there's 3 licenses you can do. Do note that these are security appliances, so they do have a firewall built into it. They have advanced malware protection. So it has identity-based firewall, high availability and failover, and SD-WAN and auto VPN. This is for the enterprise license. Next, we have a few more features with our next license. We already have what's included. This license is called Advanced Security License. And what it's going to help with is content filtering and geolocation rules, things such as whitelists. What websites can users go to? What can they not go to? This includes features such as intrusion detection and prevention and advanced malware protection to make sure that no malware is on your endpoints. And figure out what's going on if any specific suspicious activity is occurring. And then lastly, we have Secure SD-WAN Plus license. This is going to do is it's going to add 2 more key benefits. VPN segmentation and exclusion. So you already have the ability to do VPNs. Now we're talking more so VPN segmentation and traffic shaping through VPNs with this license, so you can shape and balance your traffic accordingly. Then we have end user experience and monitoring. This is MI. We talked about this earlier, but this has to do with how applications are performing on your network and how our WAN is looking on our network as well. It gives us a lot more details and data. And this leads us to MI. This is how it works. We have our end user. He's very unhappy over here on the left side. Connects to an access point and goes to a router and connects to the ISP. Currently, without MI, you will not know what's going on in between the WAN and the internet while it connects to your app server. MI unlocks the ability and allows you to collect data about what's going on, things such as end-to-end visibility into your services and software applications, root cause analysis, WAN health, and VoIP health as well. So highly recommended to use this. It's going to help you identify issues that normally would be outside of your control. Here's our MG cellular gateway. You can see, it is high performance, but it's intended to be used as a backup gateway, unlock wireless WAN connectivity via cellular as a primary or backup link. Again, depends on how much data is traversing your network. But again, we have our cellular options as well. And then next up, we have our MS switches. Here we have two different licensing types for MS switches. First one is, again, the enterprise license. So it's always going to be our most basic license for Meraki. And it does voice and video QoS, layer 7 app visibility, supports virtual and physical stacking, multi-gigabyte performance, dynamic routing. The routing protocol that Meraki configures your switches with is OSPF, Open Shortest Path First, and it will use this by default. This is the only routing protocol supported. We have our enterprise security as well that it supports in the remote packet capture and cable testing, making sure that our cables are working as intended. And if any issues come up with our clients, our endpoints, we can do remote capture. So that's what you get with the most basic license. The advanced license, it comes with everything, but then we have adaptive policy. What is this? This is what I was mentioning earlier. It's similar to SDA, software defined access, but again, you're just getting the micro segmentation bit. You're just getting scalable group tags for this. And then we have our wireless access points. Again, we have our enterprise license. This supports BYOD and guest policies that you can create. So BYOD, bring your own device, application traffic shaping, enterprise security, WIPs, location analytics, and wireless health. If you're going to go with that method. But if you are going with the advanced license method, this is going to do is it's going to unlock umbrella DNS security. This is making sure that it's resolving domains securely, that there's no kind of DNS attacks going on, and that the resources it's reaching out to are trusted. And then we have our adaptive policy as well. Again, this goes back to micro segmentation for the access points. And next we have our systems manager endpoint. Again, if you're familiar kind of with ICE in a way, Cisco ICE, which integrates, that's the primary integration for AAA management with Catalyst Center, you can think of this somewhat like that. So here we're talking about managing endpoints. For endpoints to be trusted, most likely they're going to have a security certificate. They're going to have a certificate, and those certificates need to be provisioned onto those devices in order to get them access onto the network. Before we provision certificates and get them access onto the network, we need to make sure that these devices don't have any malware on them, that they're secure, that these devices are trusted. And this is what System Management and Endpoint Manager does. It's going to help you perform all of this, things such as backup file sharing, easy and rapid provisioning, software inventory, and app deployment for business critical operations. These are all things that will be deployed on to that are available within System Management, System Manager, Endpoint Management, and as a mouthful, Manager, Endpoint Management, and then device security locations, network deployment, and then it also has mobile and desktop troubleshooting as well. So let's say a user calls in, you're able to basically log into their device, screen share with their device immediately, and start troubleshooting the connectivity within their network, straight from the Meraki dashboard. Next, we have our MV security cameras. This is how they look. You have three different options. You have a narrow, wide, and a fisheye field of vision. For feature highlights, end-to-end encryption, retroactive motion event searching. So it's able to detect if things are quiet, it's able to detect any movement and automatically alert you during off-peak hours. Audio recording, cloud archive, MB Sense. These are optional, but these come with the features as well. And lastly, we have our sensors. These are what they look like, essentially. I already explained what they are, but you'll plug these within your network closet, your data centers, and it'll give you information on how they are operating. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the next demo. Carlo, I'm going to hand it over to you while I do that for our next poll question.
All right. Thank you very much, Casey. So let me go ahead and open up our third poll. And for this, we asked, which Meraki network device type do you or are you planning to most likely use? Again, your choices are switching, wireless, hybrid, or none. Back to you, Casey.
Thank you, Carlo. So we have our, here's Meraki. All right, we were just at Catalyst Center, but here's how Meraki looks. This is not the landing page. Within Meraki, you might have one organization or multiple organizations. Typically what I've seen is customers will just have one organization. If you have multiple organizations, I've seen that mostly with like managed service providers. They will have multiple organizations, but most likely you'll just have one if you're not a managed service provider. And within these organizations, you'll have networks within those organizations. So I'm going to click Meraki Launchpad right here. This is an organization within this specific Meraki account. And I'm going to go over to, close. Actually, before I do that, here's the landing page for Meraki. We can see impacted networks. We can see one network is currently operating poorly. We can get trending networks, how our health is looking, how it's changed over time. Our network health score, you can see Chicago is not in good shape. So this gives us a lot of analytics on what might be going on. One thing to note as well is Meraki very much works on tags, so you can define different policies and rules based on tags as well. But yeah, this is how the overview looks. Next up, we'll go, actually, first thing you want to do when you go to Meraki is when you're onboarding a device or anything like that, is you want to go to organization inventory. So once you order a device from Cisco, a Meraki device, you'll want to retain that order number, and you'll want to come over to here, organization inventory. You want to go to claim device and enter that order number in, which will then allow you to claim those devices. And then once you receive the device, once it's shipped out to you, you plug it in, you connect it, and it has connectivity. It'll come configured to have connectivity to the Meraki cloud already. Just make sure that your upstream devices can provide that connectivity. And then what it'll do is Meraki will go ahead and immediately claim it. It's that simple. And then it'll go ahead and configure those devices based off of the network it's in. Okay. And that leads me to the network. Within organizations, you have multiple networks. I'm going to go to view all networks and show you all of the ones we have configured here. We can see that San Francisco is not doing too well. We have our San Jose, it's definitely not doing well. We can see our network health here. Notice these tags again, everything, pretty much everything. Every object you do can be tagged. You can create policies based off of these tags. We can see the number of devices within each site, the amount of clients within each site. If I go to San Francisco, which isn't doing too well, it has the most of our devices, so I'm going to demo that. And we can see, we'll wait for it to load, but we'll see in just a second. There we go. So immediately we can see all of our uplinks, how many switches we have, how many access points are at the site. And then we can see our usage client. So and all of the applications running with Meraki. So we can see all that here. We can see all of our different wired and wireless devices as well that are configured at this site level. We can search them here. We can filter for them. We can select them by wired, wireless, client VPN, which OS is it running for endpoints, etc. And then it'll populate the list. So like if I were to click wireless, now just wireless is showing there. And now I can see, hey, this is the kind of wireless application data that is happening on the network. So next is, so those are our devices. Let's say I wanted to look at a specific switch. They were switching, and then I'll give it a second to load. And we can see our switches here. All of them look pretty good. You have a few alerts going on. This one seems to be that it has an issue with power. We can click this right here and see suggested actions to see how we might troubleshoot this issue. Again, it's not as in-depth as Catalyst Center, but it does provide some details for you on how to do it. We have our ports, device health, layer 3 routing. Again, that's OSPF, DHCP location, and tools. This will have our different ports that we can select. I can click one of these, I can get information on them, and I can edit these ports as well. This is going to configure things such as VLAN, which VLANs are allowed on various interfaces, what's the native VLAN, etc. All right, so we have we can see what current clients are connected to it, which version is on it. If there's an update available, we can click that and get a lot of details here. There's a lot of other stuff we can do with switching. We have our access policies, access lists, port schedules, OSPF. We can get into the weeds on OSPF, define different areas. Do we have one area, which is our backbone, area 0? Do we have multiple areas? We can define all of that here, and Meraki will then deploy those out to the switches. We also have wireless, and similar. We have access points, our SSIDs that we can define here, access control, traffic shaping, even our guest splash page that we can customize, and then our SSID availability as well. There's our tons of different options you can do here. For assurance, this is where you're going to define our alerts, packet capture, event log. You're going to get information about the clients and the web application health. We also have our cameras. This is you can view different data. You can view which cameras are connected to the Meraki cloud. Video wall is going to show which the actual footage of all those cameras. So when you click video wall, it'll show you the footage. Sensors, this is where you're going to have all the sensors for your wireless closets that you can deploy. And all the information that they collect will be showing here. Insight, this is going to deal with the WAN link, VoIP health, web app health. This is going to give you information on how your WAN is operating. That is just about it. Last thing is security and SD-WAN. So here we have our appliance status. Again, this is the base, the core of your network. This has a firewall built into it. This is going to work with getting trust scores, understanding behavior, implementing firewall rules onto the network devices. And it is going to be your primary SD-WAN connection link. So it looks similar to how the switches look. We have our DHCP. We can configure site-to-site VPNs here. We can do routing, client VPN, traffic shaping for SD-WAN. So like how much data do we want over one link versus the other based off of where we're coming from, which devices, which user endpoints are connected to the network, where are they connected? And we can create various traffic shaping rules for our SD-WAN and even for our VPN. We can define that as well. Here's content filtering. This is where you'll define things such as whitelists and define what different websites you can access through the infrastructure for your endpoints. Okay, and that is just about it. Let's go ahead and go back to the PowerPoint deck. What I'm going to do is wrap up with UNX and licensing. So hybrid management and UNX, what are these? They're a little bit different. There's some nuances, but for now, just think of UNX. Hybrid management has been around for a little bit longer. UNX is a lot newer, right? And we're going to go into each of these. Hybrid management is on-premise management merging together with cloud management. So think Catalyst devices merging together with cloud management. So what can happen here is Catalyst Center devices can merge over to and be configured, be able to be managed by the Meraki cloud. Once this happens, they will not be managed by Catalyst Center anymore, but you have the ability to choose between the two. Cloud management merging with Meraki enables you to move Meraki devices over to Catalyst Center. But again, you will not be able to manage both at the same time, but you can choose. It allows you to choose between the devices as long as they're compatible with those solutions. And this is what it does. Cloud monitoring for Catalyst enables all of this information. Oh, wow. The laser pointer lost contact. Hold on one second. Let me pull it back up. Okay, sorry. So it's detailed network usage statistics. So you can get all these details. These are a lot of details. We're just describing the capabilities. So like once you take a Catalyst Center device and you move it over to Meraki, the features are a lot more robust on Meraki rather than taking a Meraki device and moving it to Catalyst Center as it stands right now. When you take a Catalyst Center device, move it over to Meraki, you'll get a lot more feature robustness from that migration. Things such as packet captures, config diff, software upgrades, cloud management for Catalyst, full management. You have device health, energy monitoring, automated image management. The list goes on and on. Same powerful hardware with a lot with flexible operations. Okay, so that's hybrid management. With UNX, what'll happen is, see, we have our licensing is mostly to deal with licensing, but for UNX capable devices, the issue is that when you do this, there's different licensing within these. And how can I manage one device or use multiple dashboards at the same time for one specific device? Well, with Meraki and Catalyst Center utilizing UNX, you're able to do that. Notice here how this is how it's traditionally been. We have our EN licensing on the Catalyst Center end, and then Meraki licensing on the Meraki end. Now let's merge the two together. This is what it looks like with unified hardware, unified licensing, unified support. You can manage the devices on-premise with on-premise management. You can do a hybrid of both solutions if you need to, and then you have cloud management. So we're bringing everything together with UNX. These the key thing is you need to have compatible UNX devices for these. For Wi-Fi 7 access points, we have our 9178s, 9176s, and our 9172s. It enables cloud, on-premise, and hybrid as well. All right, these are our unified licensing tiers. Between them, we have our Cisco Wireless Essentials and our Cisco Wireless Advantage licenses. As far as switching goes, here are our Cisco smart switches that support UNX. Again, it enables cloud, on-premise, and hybrid. We have our Cisco switching essentials and Advantage, which are recognized as well, both by Meraki and Catalyst Center, unifying your experience. And with that, that is UNX. What I'm going to do is go ahead and give it back over to Carlo to wrap up with poll number 4.
All right, thank you very much, Casey. Let me go ahead and enable poll number 4. Here we ask, how likely are you to adopt the new hybrid or UNX solution? Do let us know. We'd love your feedback. All right, over to you, Casey.
Thank you, Carlo. So I'm going to wrap up with some key points to remember. Just remember the benefits of Catalyst Center. There are more capabilities and flexibility available. However, Meraki is simpler, it costs less. You can migrate many different devices to Meraki from Catalyst Center and vice versa. Once this is done, they'll no longer appear in the dashboard they were migrated from if they are not UNX devices. UNX compatible devices enable seamless licensing management. So when you migrate devices, you no longer need to purchase a different license. There are many different hardware solutions available based on your organization need between Meraki and Catalyst Center. So be sure to check this out. Do a thorough design process and analyze thoroughly. Make sure that your end users will be supported by your network gear and you select the best solution for your needs. Make sure you do thorough planning and always select the best solution for your organization. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Carlo to do some wrapping up of this session. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you very much, Casey, and the whole team for bringing your knowledge to the Cisco community. If you have additional questions, please scan the QR code towards the bottom right corner of your screen. If you want to access the post-event discussion thread, the one that's in the center is for the live Slido, either or. But due to time, I think I'm going to go ahead and encourage everyone to scan the QR code that's located on the bottom right corner of your screen. That way we can continue the conversation over on the Cisco Learning Network. Okay. All right. Your feedback is important. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and launch the survey. So we do encourage you to participate. Again, we're utilizing Slido for that. So scan that QR code that's located on the top right corner of your screen. Once again, we thank everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.